Some people like to play FPL like little babies, picking safe players who are reliable long-term. Others like to play FPL like heavy metal rock stars. I promise you, mum, this is not just a phase. Most of us are somewhere in the middle, and that's okay too. Welcome to FPL Mate. My name is Dan, and today we're going to have a look at a super aggressive, high-reward team strategy for Gameweek 1. Okay guys, new day, new team, and this video is going to be all about those of you who want to get an early head start in your FPL teams, in your FPL leagues, and hopefully make a fool of all of your rivals, leaving them in your trails. Now, this team is about targeting the first few game weeks, and if it goes well, you will have a lot of points. And if not, or you're worried about the long-term prospects of this team, it's set up with the idea that you might play your wild card in around game week 2, 3, or 4. Now, of course, you may not even need to do this, but I think you are going to have to be at least prepared for the idea of playing a wild card fairly early in the season if you are to go for a super aggressive strategy like the one today. And guys, if you do want to play aggressively in FPL, you need to know how to target the fixtures. And to demonstrate this, I'm going to show you my score predictions on an app called Sleeper. Now, Sleeper is a fantasy football sports app with millions of players, hundreds of thousands of positive reviews that is finally bringing its expertise to the Premier League. Play fantasy draft using an app that genuinely cares about this game mode, or play Pick'em, a simple but fun game where you predict who will win, lose, and draw. Okay guys, I want to have a look at these fixtures, and we need to kind of figure out who is going to be the best teams for game week 1 so we can start looking at what players we might want to pick. So straight away in this opening game, Manchester United versus Fulham, I think this could very easily be a draw. I can see a 1-1 happening, so I'm going to put draw down for that one. As for the second game, Liverpool should definitely beat Ipswich, and given that Ipswich are a newly promoted team, we definitely want to target those kind of players in our FPL teams. In terms of Arsenal versus Wolves, you would imagine Arsenal win to 0. So I really think an Arsenal defender will be really useful if you are targeting maximum gains in those first few game weeks. In terms of Everton and Brighton, that is a 0-0 draw if I ever did see one. So straight up on the draw selection there. Nottingham Forest and Bournemouth is a little harder to call. And I think there could be some goals in this one. I'm going to go for a draw in this. For the next game, Newcastle should beat Southampton. Again, another newly promoted team. You want to have at least one Newcastle attacker in your team if you're going to try and get some goals from that game. And I think it's definitely possible. West Ham versus Aston Villa. I think Aston Villa should win that despite facing West Ham away from home. Crystal Palace should beat Brentford, but I think this is going to be tighter than some people expect. As for Chelsea versus Man City, it's going to be a tough game for both teams. I'm going to put Man City down, but in terms of FPL, for game week 1, I don't know if I'd want to take a chance on too many players. And finally, Leicester versus Spurs. Again, another newly promoted team coming up against a tough opposition. We're going to go for Spurs. And Spurs, I think, you know, another team we want to target in FPL. There's a few really nice Spurs attacking players in particular that I think could get something out of this Leicester game. Let me know what you think about my predictions, but if you think you know ball yourself and can predict who will win Premier League games, come and join my Pick'em League. I'm giving away PS5s, Xboxes, football shirts, and more every single month to the best predictors. It's completely free to join. No crypto, no NFTs, no nonsense like that. It's super easy to play, just a genuine, fantastic fantasy football alternative, and that's why it's already so popular. Just use the link in the top of the description to join my league, and you can compete for big prizes every single month. There is no reason to not get involved, and unless you don't know ball. I mean, if you don't know how to predict games, that's fair enough. I think you could do it. I believe in you. Okay, now we know roughly which kind of teams we want to be targeting for game week 1 in particular. We can start building a team that's going to work really, really well for game week 1 and try and make sure we have some players that can at least compete in game week 2, 3, maybe 4. But again, this team plans on an early wild card, so we're going to try and focus on the early game weeks really with this team. And straight up in goal, we are going to go for Raya. Wolves at home in game week 1 and Brighton at home in game week 2. That is pretty much 2 locked in clean sheets already, knowing how Arsenal are so good defensively. And I don't really want to pick too many defenders from Arsenal, because I see a lot of other teams have some better aggressive attacking fullbacks that maybe Arsenal lack a little bit. Arsenal don't typically get too many attacking returns from the fullback positions, and you might get an occasional centre-back goal, but we're going for a little bit more. Raya, a little bit cheaper than the likes of Gabriel, Saliba, a lot cheaper than Ben White. I think will do the job perfectly and get us that clean sheet that we do want and deserve in those opening game weeks. I think it's going to be really nice to have at least one Arsenal defender in here. Let's move on into the defence, and Trent Alexander-Arnold is going to come up first. No surprise here, Liverpool have the best fixtures in the Premier League to open up the season, and Ipswich, Brentford, Manchester United and Nottingham Forest all present opportunities for attacking returns. Now, Liverpool weren't amazing defensively last season. Now, that could potentially change, and a great way to get the best clean sheet opportunities is usually to target fixtures rather than the form of the team. And looking through this, there's definitely some opportunities here. Ipswich, the first game, Trent is not only going to have that chance of a clean sheet, but the attacking returns is what it's all about with him. He's going to be a set piece taker, so there's going to be opportunities there, and I think he can potentially score from free kicks, you know, put a cross in for one of his teammates to score a goal. Could be really nice. He's not going to be the only Liverpool player in this team though, as we do look to target this opening run for Liverpool quite heavily. We're going hard on Liverpool in this team, guys, don't worry. The next defender is Pedro Porro, who is an interesting one. I've not really considered him too often in my main teams, but at the end of the day, he is an amazing attacking defender, really. In fact, last season, no defender had better attacking numbers at all. Trent was second, by the way, but Pedro Porro way out in front. 2.92 expected goals with 3 actual goals scored, 6.18 expected assists with 8 assists there as well. Among defenders, he had the most shots in the box. He was 4th for key passes. He was 2nd for big chances creative. So we've got a very, very attacking guy here who looks really, really nice indeed. So that is why he is in this team. And our third defender is actually going to be Barco. Now, Barco looks very good for the early stages of the new season because Estupiñán is going to be injured for 3, 4, possibly 5 game weeks as he gets reintroduced into the Brighton team. And that means Barco is going to be playing in an advanced left wing back position. And what we've seen is Barco has been taking corners with Gross leaving, could even take some free kicks during pre-season, which is really, really nice. Now, he's only 4 million. He's not going to be a pick that is going to be useful to you for the rest of the season necessarily, but with Everton up first, that's a nice opportunity defensively. Against Manchester United after that, that is a good opportunity for attacking returns. And then we've got Ipswich in Game Week 4 as well. A great opportunity for both attacking and defensive returns. So Barco could be a real nice hidden gem, and we're seeing more and more people pick him. If you want to go aggressive and pick a player who has attacking potential as well as clean sheet potential, Barco is worth playing in Game Week 1. Yes, he really is. I'm putting that out there. He's on most people's benches. I think you can start him. I really, really do. Let's move on into the midfield position next. Mo Salah is obviously going to be in this team. I don't think I need to speak about this too much, but what we've got here is a player who is very reliable. We know what he's about. He's a penalty taker. He's got a great reputation in FPL and shown that consistently he's been a great FPL asset. So a little expensive at 12.5, but well worth investing if we are targeting this opening run of fixtures. Now, the rest of the midfield gets a little more interesting. We're going for Saka. I know some people will debate on which is their favourite midfielder to go for. Saka, for me, is really nice for targeting this opening run because Wolves, Aston Villa, Brighton and Spurs, these are all teams that you would typically call weaker defences. And I know people say Aston Villa's a tough fixture, Spurs is a tough fixture. Yes, if you're a defender, because Villa and Spurs score goals, but they also concede a huge amount of chances, and both defences are kind of in the bottom half of the table for defensive numbers. So there's no doubt that Arsenal can get attacking returns. Wolves at home is a brilliant fixture to start off the season as well, and I do have a lot of confidence that Saka is the best Arsenal attacking option to go for. Penalty taker as well, very useful. Don't think there's any weaknesses here for these fixtures from an attacking point of view. Let's move on to our next player, who is going to be Heung-min Son, who scored 17 goals last season with only 1 penalty. Now, we've talked about other attacking players who've scored a lot of goals last season, but very few of them did so without the aid of penalties. It's only really players like Foden and Son, who only scored 1 penalty. Spurs just kind of unlucky, didn't really get any penalties last season, but you can imagine if Spurs got 5 penalties last season, which isn't even that much, that's less than like Arsenal, way less than Chelsea, then you would see Son on a 20+ goal season last year with 10 assists as well, and we all be saying, that's amazing. Now, looking through Son's fixtures, Leicester is a really nice opening fixture for him. We've also got Everton, which is okay at home. Newcastle is an interesting one as well, but I think there's opportunities there. Newcastle last season were just not a great defense. And even Arsenal, Son can definitely score against Arsenal. Do you want to own Son longer term, though, or would you rather switch to the likes of Foden and Palmer, players like that? Yes, you probably do, which is why this is a team that is aggressive for early on in the season. Son is really nice for early season and can give you a real nice head start to the season. Guys, what we've got coming up next is where things get a little bit differential. And you can say that Son is a little bit differential already at only 11% ownership. But we're going lower than that because Diogo Jota is the next player in this team. 10 goals and 7 assists last season for Liverpool, which doesn't sound amazing until you remember that he only started 14 times in the Premier League. So 17 attacking returns, 14 starts. We already know that whenever Diogo Jota is fit, he is an incredible player. And during the beginning of the season, we're expecting Darwin to be slowly reintroduced to the team. He's kind of come back late for Liverpool due to international responsibilities. So Diogo Jota is presumably going to be the striker for the opening few games of the season. And when you get a Diogo Jota who looks like he's going to get minutes, you know, he's perfectly fit and available at this moment. And, you know, he has got a great record. We're going to see a lot of goals from him. He is such a good finisher. We're going to see assists from him. The fixtures are amazing. And again, he's not a player who you would necessarily want to own long term. So if he does get injured, you know, it happens. Or, you know, he finds himself rotated a little bit. Maybe Darwin comes in ahead of him. If that does happen, you've got the wild card ready to go. So, again, this is an aggressive strategy. We're looking to go for those players who can get you a lot of points early on in the season, and Diogo Jota does just that. And our final midfielder is actually going to be Bailey. 10 goals, 11 assists, despite only 22 starts last season. He's looking more and more likely to be a regular starter. There is other players maybe coming into Aston Villa that can play on the wing as well, but I think Bailey is going to at least start the season as the main man. And if he continues to perform as well as he did sort of the tail end of last season, I know he wasn't in favour the start of last season, but by the end of the season, he looked pretty much first choice in the wing position. I think that's going to continue into the new season, and his numbers, considering, you know, what he did in the limited minutes he had last season, kind of says to me, okay, this could be really good for the new season as well. We've got West Ham, our opening fixture. We've got Leicester in game week 3 as well. So 2 really nice, high potential fixtures to take advantage of with Bailey. And moving up front, guys, we have got Alexander Isak, Southampton, opening fixture at home, penalty taker again. We've got a few penalty takers in this team. It looks really, really nice for Isak at the very start of the season. Obviously, from game week 5-6, Newcastle's fixtures do take a bit of a dip. They do look a little bit worse, but certainly to start the season, there's no problem going for a Newcastle player. I mean, you could even go for maybe a Gordon as well. If you don't like Jota for some reason, you go Gordon instead of Jota. They're the same price, so that's definitely possible. Hey, Gordon could even be playing for Liverpool by the time game week 1 kicks off. Unlikely, but you never know. But certainly Isak is a player who I think should be in any team, whether you're playing aggressively, whether you're playing conservatively, whether you're somewhere in the middle. Isak is the guy. We know this. 8.5 million, nuts price. And Chris Wood is going to be our final pick. Again, another little bit of a risky player. Some people concerned about his minutes longer term. Awoniyi coming back to Nottingham Forest training a little bit later during this pre-season, which means that Wood is likely to start the season as the main central striker. Again, if he performs well in these really nice fixtures, Bournemouth, Southampton, Wolves, then it's likely that he will continue. But again, slight risk. You know, long-term, what are Wood's prospects? I don't know. But if you're planning an early wild card, I think you can afford to take that risk. And Wood can be a really nice asset. His numbers last season were incredible. I'm not going to talk too much on Wood right now because I've already spoken about him a lot on this YouTube channel recently because I really, really like this pick. So let's move on into the bench. And the bench is going to contain a few players, most non-starters, to be honest. Fabianski is our first guy here. Just a 4 million filler goalkeeper, really, because if you have Raya in your team, you're never going to bench Raya. Like, let's be honest. Arsenal can keep a clean sheet against anyone. There's no point in spending money on a backup goalkeeper if you have Raya in your team. He is just the guy, right? After that, we've got Robinson, another slightly risky, high-risk, high-reward kind of defender who last season got plenty of assists, so real creative left back for a Fulham defense, which is not too bad, but mostly I like Fulham's fixtures. Leicester, Ipswich in game week 2 and 3. If you're not convinced by playing Barco in 2 and 3, then you have Robinson there. And if, you know, Estupiñán comes back and Barco is out the team by maybe game week 4, then again, you've got Robinson ready to go against West Ham. So kind of a nice backup option there that has nice fixtures where you might be worried about Barco. So that kind of works for me quite well. We've got Wout Faes there as well. Wout Faes, still don't know how to say his name, if I'm totally honest with you guys. The fixtures aren't amazing, but they're okay. And certainly Leicester more likely to keep clean sheets than some of the other 4 million defenders from Southampton and Ipswich, for example. So don't mind going for Faes there. And Stewart is actually probably the most likely 4.5 million forward to get minutes. He plays for Southampton. The fixtures are okay for Southampton, but you're probably not going to be playing him very often. But he's a nice backup to have if you do find yourself in an emergency. And you never know with these things. Like I say, he's the most likely 4.5 to get minutes. If he does, amazing. You've got yourself an extra option for your FPL team. And guys, we need to throw a captain's armband on a player. That is going to be, of course, Mo Salah. The vice captain is going to go on Isaac. And I really like this team. If you are the kind of manager who just wants to get a really good early start, you want to play really aggressive, like I say, and you don't want to play with fear and play with worry, and you're prepared to pull the trigger on an early wild card. And I'm certainly thinking about this myself. I'm happy to play my wild card pretty early on in the season. So why not go all in for these opening few game weeks and try and get the maximum amount of points possible as early as possible without having to play bench boost or free hit or whatever the mystery chip is. We don't need to play those. We just need to have that wild card ready to go if things do go wrong. And if they go right, this is the kind of team that can take you straight into the top 100,000 managers in the world within a couple of game weeks. You know, it really can do that if it goes well. So this is your high risk, high reward team for those super, super aggressive managers. Let me know if that is you. Are you the kind of aggressive FPL manager, or are you a little bit more, you play with a little bit more caution? I think everything's okay. It's interesting to hear different people's management style, but yeah, well, could you see yourself ever going for a strategy like this? I would love to hear from you guys. Let me know. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't done already. It really does help out the channel. And don't forget to check out Sleeper and win some big prizes this season. And I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.